Heroes of Tsolon is a tactics strategy tabletop game that I have been developing as a video game for a while now. The game is still in the very early stages of development, but it has moved forward somewhat since the last video I made on this project. For those unaware, this game is divided into two main portions: the overworld adventure sections and the turn-based tactics battle sections. Players will navigate the world of Tsolon as they complete a narrative that guides them forward, and whenever they encounter an enemy, they will then deploy their party onto the battlefield to defeat that enemy. The player's party can have up to 5 characters within it, and these characters can be one of any 12 classes, with distinct roles and capabilities. The enemies will be mostly boss-style enemies, to provide consistent puzzle-like scenarios and avoid monotonous encounters with low-level or generally weak foes. Previously, the overworld environment that was shown was mostly just grey boxes, so that I could get an understanding of the scale of the environments that I was trying to create. The city area is one of the most prosperous sections of Medea, so the desire to move to this location is high. As a result, the landowners within this sector have chosen to build tall buildings to accommodate the inward flow of residents. To the left is the Median Principal's facility, where he will dispatch commissioned combatants to deal with the local issues. The Principal will supply the player with the initial task to enter the sewer and deal with the problem down there. Currently, there are a few textured pieces within the city environment, as I have been trying to determine which style I'd use throughout the game. The ground is a cobbled stone effect that I dislike a lot. It looks less like pixel art and more like a really low resolution photograph, not the look I was trying to create. The Principal's facility has far too pronounced normals that make it look like a sandy pixelation effect from The Sims 2. There's a bit too much contrast in the colors, but on this right side, their pixels are scaled nicely. The left side is mostly slanted, which never looks right in this style. The awnings are too high up to see at runtime too. Finally, the sewer entrance has the same slanted pixel issue, and they're too big. I prefer these colors, and I think the mostly flat surfaces serve the project better. The lesson that I have learned from this is that my ideas need to be based in something better defined. The design of the gameplay is already fairly unique, so the art doesn't need to be groundbreaking, and my skills certainly aren't up to that. I had been working on a more detailed model for the sewer adventure environment, but because of this texturing roadblock, I had decided to put it away until I had found a solution. In the last devlog video, I also showed that characters were able to move and the knight could cast a spell in the tactics scenario. Things have moved in a much more significant way since then. Firstly, I wanted to make sure that all of the various spell targeting types were ready to go. Characters can cast spells that only target a single tile, target a line of tiles, target a circle around the caster, a circle around the target tile, and target a cone in front of the casting character. So far, single tiles, lines, and the 2 circle styles are implemented. These mostly function through the same sorting algorithms the movement does, so this didn't take too long to create. The cone style has proven to be much more complex, and I don't yet have an implemented function for it. Every spell in the game is now a scriptable object, with the various parameters the spell can be included within the SO. The spell's name, its cooldown, its cost, range, numerical effect, and the spell's type and targeting style are all easily altered from a menu. Some characters will have spells that can summon other characters to the battlefield. I have been mostly working on the Necromancer's basic spells that do this. The first creates a squad of skeletons for the player to control, and the other creates a brutish zombie creature, which has its own spell to cast. The skeletons are spawned at random within the 5-tile target area, and won't spawn on top of an occupied tile or each other. Healing and damage spells are much simpler to implement, but with the number of secondary effects I wanted to include on them, they should mostly do something more than healing a character or damaging another. Fortunately, I have included modular sections for this. Next, the largest change since the previous video. I have been in the process of planning and implementing the passive abilities for all of the player characters. Some are relatively simple bonuses, like the Paladin's Exceptional Forgiveness, which reduces damage dealt to the Paladin by an allied character by half. Others are the basis for an entire class's design. The Engineer is a particularly complex class. Instead of using the regular action points, they will use a fuel resource called Azorlem. Engineers will gain additional health for each Azorlem cluster they are holding, and will be able to collect more during the battle from nodes that randomly generate on the battlefield. However, Engineers will have to spend the Azorlem similarly to action points, so it is likely their health will fluctuate wildly throughout the fight. This turned out to be somewhat simpler than expected to get working how I intended, but there is still plenty of work to do before each class has a functional passive ability. Finally, something that is more just a large time sink than a development journey. The player will be able to earn additional abilities on each character in their party after every battle. Each class has 3 skill trees to select new skills from, and they get progressively more powerful as they continue to level up. I sat for an entire day creating spell SOs for each spell and making sure their names were correctly entered into the name field so that when the focus menu is opened, all of the name fields are filled. 120 spells will be accessed from this focus menu, so I was going to have to sit and do it sometime. Here they are. Hopefully, I don't decide to rework how the skill tree works. And that's all of the changes since the last video. I was hoping to have more of the environment pieces in the game by this time, but instead I did a lot of work on the actual gameplay part, which is still progress. If you'd like to keep up with this project and see where it goes next, you can subscribe. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.